I look at it this way, there is a three-legged stool, the criminal, the politician and the police. I can't do anything about the politician. So I just shake my own leg, the leg of the police, and ensure that they are kept in check. So that weakens the whole system. So that is how the principle on which you tackle the underworld. This underworld is there in every big city in the world. You can't get rid of that. In India, it ran on the basis of protection. And if you are protected in a democracy, even the politicians rely on these underworld because they have money and they have muscle power. I was born in Bombay. My father was in the postal service in Baroda. From Baroda, he went to Ahmedabad, from Ahmedabad to Rajkot. So at the age of 6, I'm a Bombaykar. We used to stay in Kulaba. I was in St. Xavier's School. I finished my matriculation from that school. In the first 2 years till my father died, of course, we traveled by car. Hardly anyone had a car, only very, very senior officers. I started using the local network when I went to college. Till then, I used to go by tram, where my mother used to watch that we got into the tram with my brothers and go to St. Xavier's School. City never sleeps. Even people who are not able to fend for themselves, they manage somehow or other to live. Either they beg or they steal or do whatever. When I was a sub-editor, I used to come home in the middle of the night. I used to see people still, even these girls from that telephone exchange. But in those days, they used to also catch the early morning train going home. So, and they were not afraid. This city is that safe. It was always safe for women, I feel. Culture is changing. It is now totally crowded and more people, activity, crime, everything has gone out of shape. There was much happier times in those days. But this is the price of progress. You have to go through it. Bootlegging or gambling. Just before I took over here, it was all open. There were all those fires in the Sion Creek. You could see it for distillation, and the politicians were probably involved, some of them at least. When I came, I had a good politician as my minister. That was Shrikant Jijkar. I talked to him and I said, we must stop this. He said, yes, we must. We knocked it off totally. Then there were in gambling, you used to get all those figures, matka figures. They used to show it on a board outside. I mean, it's an affront. So you knock it off and tell the police that if you see that, they've had it. And so they ensure that these things don't happen. Now it goes underground, the scale can never be the same. I came to Mumbai as Deputy Commissioner from Pune. I was the Superintendent of Police in the city of Pune. I was posted here as DCP in Zone 3 that covered the Shivaji Park. And that was the happy hunting ground of Mr. Bal Thackeray. Bal Thackeray, you could hear a pin drop, figuratively speaking. He spoke, I've heard so many of his speeches at Shivaji Park. And even I used to listen in rapt attention. My Marathi improved considerably after hearing him. That he would keep people amused, laughing, sometimes angry. His nuances of speech were very forceful, and he could get the people on his side. He had moments when he was afraid. For example, he was not at all happy when he was arrested. There was a communal riot in 84 and I think October. But get hold of all his kapos, they were called Shaka Pramukhs. They are the ones who were actually leading the troops. We swooped down on them and put them. Now that unnerved Mr. Thackeray. I think there was a lot of pressure on him from his own followers to get those people released. So we kept them at least 12 or 13 days, which I think finished off the whole riot. So I dealt more with Datta Samant, who came on the scene much later during Mrs. Gandhi's visit to Mumbai. But she had a meeting in Matunga, and she was to go back along a certain way. And this man decided that he would block that road, Datta Samant. Now, I can't allow the Prime Minister of the country not to travel by the road by which he was entitled to travel. So I called him, I summoned him, he came. I was sitting in the Matunga police station and I discussed, and he was first very adamant. I said, nothing doing. If you do that, I'm going to use force. I have no other alternative. I'm sorry about that, but I cannot allow. But I said, I can allow you half the road. But the other half you have to keep clear. I want the Prime Minister to go wherever she wants to go. Finally he agreed. Told him, all right, you can shout, you can use black flags, you can't throw stones, you can't do this, otherwise you have us on your head. 2 minutes before she arrived, he took away his men. All of them. He took them away. She had the whole road, not the half the road. In Punjab, the terrorists you see here, the underworld, they bribe you. They don't kill you. They will respect you. They get you with money. So if you don't get involved with that, they respect you. So they know the rules of the game. Over there, the terrorists don't bother about bribing anyone. They just put a bullet through you. So there's great danger. They'll come for you as long as you are alive. That is what they say. You can't totally wipe out crime. I mean, that nowhere in the world can you do that. But you can certainly keep it under control. This about encounters. There is one big problem that everybody should keep in mind, because they really support these encounters because they want quick fixes. That it make the policemen into criminals. They get a criminal bent of mind and they use it for the wrong purpose. Very often for their own, they take supari, you see, they take a contract, and that is a very, very dangerous proposition. I like the most is Mahalakshmi race course. I like it the most because I like the horses, and I like the races also. So this is my way of not getting Alzheimer's.
In earlier time, building, design and construction was a single discipline. 200 years ago, there were no architects and engineers. It was one profession. Mumbai was fine. I was away after that at university and working in Paris. So when I came back in 56, I lived in Umar Park, which is on Warden Road. It was a comfortable city to live in. Traveling by bus was easy. I used to go to work in Chembur by bus. That was fine. During my father's term, they extended the island of Mumbai into the suburbs. It became Greater Bombay. My father started one of those schemes, a JVPD scheme, and it was blank at that time. It was a swamp. The idea of the Urban Land Ceiling Act was that land should be taken away from landowners. All open land should be taken away by government at modest rates and used for housing for lower income people. Builders assembled plots. They got people to sell plots to them saying, well, look, your plot is useless, you can't build for poor people, so please sell it to us. They bought a lot of land, aggregated it, and then developed schemes which were in fact not low income housing. When the municipality published its first development plan in 1964, it showed the map of Greater Bombay, which stopped dead at the boundary. We published an article then suggesting that New Bombay be taken up as a planned development. Whether you like it or not, it's going to develop eastwards. If you make it a planned development, it will develop much better and it will be self-financing. Srinivasa was a remarkable person. He got onto the train when he found that the Chief Minister was travelling to Nagpur. Cornered the Chief Minister, had 2 uninterrupted hours with him and convinced him that the New Bombay project should happen. He asked me if I would take charge of the planning work and I said fine. And that's how New Bombay started. We'd envisioned it as a series of nodes along a transit line, like railway stations. You would have a varying skyline, which is interesting for the city. You would have more people close to the station within walking distance, and the motor car owning public would be at the perimeter away from the crowded nodal centers. In one of its basic premises, it succeeded. From development of land and sale of land, we would realize enough money to finance all the urban infrastructure, not only the physical, water supply, sanitation, drainage and so on, but also social infrastructure, schools, hospitals, everything could be financed out of the proceeds from the sale of land. We had decided that if you want to avoid slums in New Bombay, you must provide housing across the entire spectrum of income groups in proportion to their numbers in the population. So you have an income profile of the city, you know how many people there are in each income group, and you provide land and housing for that income group accordingly with a cross subsidy. Land is cheaper for the poorer people, more expensive for the wealthier. And it could be completely self-sustaining. In the early days, CIDCO built enough low-income housing according to this formula, but that has declined over the years. They've built less and less housing for the lower income groups. It takes it that one of its functions is to monetize land. This is rubbish. Land is public property. It's held in trust for the public. It's to be put to the best possible use for the public. The emergency had just happened. And that was like entering a dark tunnel. We never saw the end of it. I thought it would never end. One didn't know what the future held. Because all kinds of people were being put in jail for all sorts of things. Danger of centralization of power, misuse of power was very apparent and strong at that time. Tenders were invited for a design cum construction bid for the Kemp's Corner flyover. So we designed this flyover as an arch bridge. An arch bridge needs solid rock foundations because that holds the arch in place. Had we known initially that there was no rock here, we would never have designed an arch. It took us a week to really get rid of the idea of the arch and come up with what we have at present. And that is a pre-stressed span with overhangs. But we wanted to preserve that U-turn. And we were able to do that. Because you have to have some foresight and some planning which goes into a city. You can't just let it happen. And one of the worst things that's happening to us today is that there is no plan for any city at all, small town or large. Land can be made available in a variety of ways. And we must understand that basically developers do not want more land to be made available. I think that's just another way of storing black money. If you have cash, what do you do with it? Money being in the cupboard in the form of notes that might be demonetized, you have it in flats.